of two very early medium-wave QSL cards dating way back to the very beginning of radio broadcasting in the United States. In addition, 4 entrants will receive a very special QSL card. The QSL text will be attached to the only picture painted by the noted American artist Thomas Kincaid that shows a radio antenna. So here now are the details of this year's October contest. As Adventist World Radio enters into its 44th year of international radio broadcasting, we take pleasure in announcing our annual Wavescan DX contest, which comes to you under the title, The World's Most Unusual DX Contest. In short, you're invited to design your own DX contest in whatever way you consider is best. In addition, you're invited to log AWR programming in any part of the world on shortwave, medium wave, or FM during the month of October 2015. So here now are the complete details of our 2015 World's Most Unusual DX Contest. You're invited to design your own DX contest in any way and in whatever form you consider is best. Your self-designed DX contest may be based on any aspect of radio associated in some way with shortwave or medium wave broadcasting, such as, for example, listening, monitoring, collecting QSLs, programming, script writing, radio history, current radio events, radio in the future, large radio stations, small radio stations, rare stations, distant stations, local stations, silent stations, visiting radio stations, radio magazines, personal radio memories, recording for broadcast, etc., etc. Your self-designed DX contest may be in any form you desire, and it may be ambitious and complicated, or it may be simple and quite easy in whatever way you consider is most appropriate. You should then describe in a paragraph or two the details of your own self-designed QSL contest. Not valid for this contest are amateur or CB radio stations. Then, please demonstrate the way you fulfill the requirements of your own self-designed DX contest. And what's the best QSL you've received since the 2014 DX contest? Please provide details and a photocopy in color if possible. To accompany your entry, you are invited to prepare 3 reception reports for the broadcast on shortwave, medium wave, or FM of any AWR programming in any part of the world. You may choose the international shortwave programming from Adventist World Radio via KSDA, Guam, or any of the shortwave relay stations that carry AWR programming, or any of the 1,700 local medium wave or FM stations in any part of the world that are affiliated with Adventist World Radio. Please do not send a recording of your reception. We just need your honest reception report on paper. All reception reports will be verified with a special contest endorsement. Where possible, you're also invited to include 3 radio cards for the Indianapolis Heritage Collection with your contest entry. These cards may be old or new, and they may be QSL cards, reception report cards, or picture cards of radio stations, etc. Again, not valid for this contest are cards from amateur or CB radio stations. So there you have it, the details for our Wavescan 2015 World's Most Unusual DX Contest. This contest will run through the month of October 2015, and all contest entries should be postmarked at your local post office anywhere in the world on any date up to the end of the month of October 2015, and they should be received at the AWR post office address in Indianapolis no later than the end of the month of November 2015. Post your entry with all items to Adventist World Radio in Indianapolis, remembering that neatness and preparation will all feature in the judging procedure. Due consideration will also be given to the area of the world in which you live. Where possible, please enclose return postage in the form of a currency note in any international currency or a mint postage stamp. Please do not send international reply coupons or IRCs because they're too expensive, and in any case they're no longer valid in the United States. Please also enclose a return label with your postal address. The awards for the 2015 AWR World's Most Unusual DX contest will be similar to all previous contests. There will be a special award for the world winner, one of Jerome Berg's radio history books, and also for the winner from each continent, there'll be a copy of the 2016 edition of the World Radio TV Handbook. In addition, there will be other special awards as well as AWR souvenirs and radio curios for many participants. As previously mentioned, every entry in this year's very unusual DX contest will be awarded a full-size photocopy of two very early medium-wave QSLs dating way back to the very beginning of radio broadcasting in the United States. 4 entrants will receive a special Thomas Kincaid card showing twin radio towers. All AWR reception reports will be verified with a specially endorsed AWR QSL card. Please remember that it will take a period of many months, well into the new year 2016, to process all of the contest entries and reception reports, but each will in due course be processed. The only address for the World's Most Unusual DX contest is QSL DX Contest, Adventist World Radio, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA.
Thank you, Ray, and we'll have more with Ray in just a moment.
You're listening to Wavescan from Adventist World Radio. Send your comments and reception reports to Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the United States. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the USA. Or you can email us at wavescan@awr.org. Our email once again, wavescan@awr.org.
Well, last week we gave you a preview of our South Pacific Odyssey that we recently went on, from Miami to Los Angeles to New Zealand to Australia, back to New Zealand to the Cook Islands, back to Los Angeles and to Miami. So let's begin our trip on today's program with KVOH in Los Angeles. Ray Robinson, who you just heard a moment ago, is the operations manager of this privately owned shortwave station, part of the Voice of Hope network. Ray took us on a long tour of 3 quite distant parts of the KVOH operation. We began with the Spanish language studios, which are located on a church campus right next to the former home of the famous American actors Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. Well, Ray, right now we are in, do you call it Studio 1?
It's the Chatsworth studio.
The Chatsworth studio, okay. Yeah. And we are, where are we in terms of Los Angeles here?
We're probably about an hour's drive northwest of downtown Los Angeles. It's in the northwest corner of the San Fernando Valley.
Okay. And right here, you don't actually have any transmitting facilities, but you have a studio.
Yeah, it's line of sight to the transmitting site. We have a terrestrial microwave link that goes up to where the transmitters are. But this is a studio that we've been blessed with by a local church, local Presbyterian church. And we have guys who come here and they do live presentation on air. We have our Spanish programming during the daytime, and they do live programming from here. We also have a couple of computers with our library of programs and music and all of that on. And so, yeah, this is where we're currently running the KVOH operation from.
So the Spanish programming comes from here, but the English also?
The English comes from here as well.
Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah. But the only one that you're actually doing live from here is in Spanish?
That's correct at the moment. We have some new studios that are under construction. This is our legacy studio, if you like, but it's very functional for the purpose.
Yeah, very nice. So how many hours a day are you actually using? Well, obviously you're transmitting 24 hours, but in terms of people coming in and doing programs and things here?
Yeah, we operate for 5 hours a day in Spanish during the daytime and 4 hours in English in the evenings, and about half of the Spanish programming is presented live, and the rest is pre-recorded. Hopefully you can't tell too much of a difference. But we have a guy who does a couple of hours of live music and ministry in Spanish every morning. He comes in, he responds to emails that come in on the computer, he responds to letters, he prays for whatever their needs are. He's very happy to talk to people in other countries. And then we also have some local pastors that come in and present live during the week as well. Several give us pre-recorded programs, but it's interesting that some of them choose to come and present live as well. And they bring their Bible in and they open it up and they do a little talk for the day, and seems to work quite well.
Now this is on 17775 kilohertz?
That's the Spanish frequency, yeah. We try not to chop around. We try to stay on the same frequencies. 17775 is the frequency we've been on for the Spanish programming for decades. In the evenings we use 9975 for English, and President John Taylor has always had the philosophy that if we can stay on those same frequencies, it helps listeners to find us. So yeah, it seems to work. But 17 comes in pretty well in Cuba. We get a lot of responses from there, and it comes in clear without the jamming, which is really appreciated.
What kind of, you get a lot of response from Cuba, I guess, but where else do you get a lot of response from to the Spanish programming?
Most of our responses come from Cuba and Mexico, which is probably not surprising. This is a fairly strategic location for reaching Mexico, right? From Southern California, you can put a powerhouse signal throughout most of Mexico. We don't reach the northwest corner because of the sky skip of the shortwave signal, but from the north... How far are we from the Mexican border here? Not that far, I guess. 120 miles, maybe. Okay. Yeah, so we don't reach around Tijuana and up in that corner of Mexico, but the rest of the country, it's a very strong signal. We get a lot of responses from down around the Mexico City area and the southern part of the country. And then obviously the other countries in Central America are smaller and smaller populations, so you don't expect to hear so much from them. But we do hear from them also. Venezuela we hear quite a bit from, which is surprising because that's really further than we expect our 50 kilowatt transmitter to reach right now. But we do hear from Venezuela. We hear fairly regularly from Brazil, who we don't broadcast in Portuguese, but they respond to the English programming. They like the jazz programs at night. So it's kind of interesting.
Now the 9975, is it the same antenna?
Yes, it's the same antenna for both. Okay. It's a log periodic. It's beamed at 100 degrees from Los Angeles, which is pretty much bore-sighted on Havana, Cuba. The founder of the station, George Otis, really had a burden to reach Cuba, and so that was the initial target. But the antenna is such that there's a fairly wide coverage either side of that beam, and so we do cover down into Mexico and Central America and the north coast of South America, and then on the north side we cover a very large part of the United States. We get reports from Canada, both the eastern side of Canada, and also there's a spur that goes up the west coast, and we get fairly strong reception reports from Washington State and British Columbia. So it's just an interesting antenna pattern. So most of the response to English comes from the U.S. and Canada? Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we would like to think we're reaching people in Belize and Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and Bahamas and West Indies and whatever. And, one of our programmers was buying an hour a night from us, but he was in St. Kitts and decided to listen and see how his program was coming in St. Kitts. Now, St. Kitts, if you look on a map from Los Angeles to Cuba, where we're aiming at, carry the line on and you hit St. Kitts. It's right the other side. And he heard us clear as a bell. And on the strength of that, bought another hour in the evenings because we were putting in such a good signal into the West Indies. But realistically, most of our responses to the English language programming do come from the United States. That's true. All right, so this studio here in Chatsworth is going to be moved up to the mountain, is that right? Not up to the mountain. Our transmitter site is on the mountain, so the transmitter and the antenna are up there, but we have a new studio complex that we're building over in Simi Valley. We have a low-power FM that is already on the air from there. We have a production studio that's being built. We also have a station in Zambia, in Africa, and we're going to be feeding that from the studio in Simi Valley. We've leased a studio in Lusaka. We'll be able to feed the transmitters there either from Lusaka for live programming or from Simi Valley for pre-recorded programming. So there's some interesting work being done over there, but right now this is the facility for KVOH.
Okay, so now from here, where are we going?
We're going up to the transmitter site, Chatsworth Peak.
And that was our Wavescan presenter, Ray Robinson, at the current studios of KVOH in Los Angeles, California. Next time, we'll go way up into the mountains to visit the KVOH transmitter site. But right now, let's go to Australia. Here's Bob Padula and his report for this month.
Greetings to shortwave enthusiasts around the world. This is Bob Padula in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, with another edition of the Australian DX Report. These magazines provide news of shortwave broadcasting stations, monitoring summaries, propagation news, and other information concerning world international broadcasting. I'd just like to remind you that full detailed QSLs are available for correct reports received for these episodes. The address will be given at the end of the program. And to note that all times, days and dates given in our episodes are in UTC, and we use the 24-hour time system. The episodes are compiled from resources made available by the Electronic DXpress Radio Monitoring Association, which is based here in Melbourne. The latest information from the Department of Space Services, which is the Ionospheric Prediction Service of the Government of Australia, located in Sydney, New South Wales, advises that solar activity is now categorised as very low. The 10.7 centimetre solar radio flux has dropped to 107. It's 107. And the daily equivalent smooth sunspot number has fallen to 57. That's 57. These figures are expected to reduce even further in the week ahead. So high-frequency propagation over long-distance multi-hop paths on frequencies above about 14 megahertz, that's on nighttime or semi-darkness routes, will continue to be unreliable. However, frequencies above 40 megahertz on using daylight paths will remain satisfactory. Now, some information concerning monitoring here in Melbourne. We're well into our spring season now, and I think we're all looking forward to the frequency changes and schedule alterations which will be made at the end of October when the new transmission season comes into effect. Remind you that the planning for this new season took place at the High Frequency Coordination Committee conference held in Brisbane, here in Queensland, Australia, during the last week of August. And the details of those deliberations will be made public by the HFCC well in time before the start of the new transmission season. Now, our monitoring notes from Melbourne. In our mornings, between 2030 and 2100, some quite good reception in the 31 metre band, that's the 9 megahertz band, with signals from Europe, Africa, Asia and the Middle East, all propagating very well from the west into Victoria. That's over the darkness path. Signals from Asia also propagate at that time. Of interest are the following. Radio Romania International, Bucharest, on 9500, programming in Romanian with a soccer broadcast, or football as it's known in some countries. We know as here is soccer. Signing off at 2000, even though our period of monitoring was actually 2030. So that's an item there. Algeria uses the relay facilities of the French station in Issoudun in France, programming in Arabic on 9375. And just to note that these are all 2032, 2100, unless I specify otherwise. 9380, All India Radio with its domestic service. 9420, the Greek radio external service in Greek. Another frequency for All India Radio with the domestic program is 9425. And the Voice of Turkey, quite good reception each day here in Melbourne in this time period with its Turkish service on 9460. And China, various Chinese transmitters are giving good reception in our mornings. China National Radio Network 1 signs on at 2025, or some days 2030. Actually, the identification music comes on at 2025, and then the identification announcement at 2030. Frequencies are 9470 and 9710, both giving good reception. And the external service from China, China Radio International, Beijing, 9480 with European languages, and also on 9585. And the English service in China Radio International on 9600. 9525, I mentioned China Radio International. Another frequency is 9720, same time period. 9540, Radio Liberty from Lampertheim in Germany with Russian programming. And the broadcasting service of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on 9555 with Arabic.
Thank you, Bob. The medium wave band in India is quite crowded with stations that are on the air in the many nearby countries, as well as in India itself. It is very unusual indeed for a medium wave station in Japan to be heard in India. Yet this was achieved by Pradip Chandra Kundu in Agartala, Tripura state in northeast India. On September 12, 1985, Pradip heard the Japanese medium wave station JODF with 5 kilowatts on 684 kilohertz. Even though he endeavored to tune into the station on subsequent occasions, he never heard it again. He sent a reception report regarding this unusual propagation to the station at Morioka in Japan and received their colorful QSL card in response. Their full data QSL card acknowledges this remarkable reception. Music from New Zealand ends this edition of Wavescan, performed by Ngati Rangiwawehi. Thanks for listening to Wavescan, the international DX program from Adventist World Radio, researched and written in Indianapolis by Dr. Adrian Peterson. Next week, the radio scene on another French island in the Pacific. We continue our tour of KVOH in Los Angeles, have our DX report from Japan, and our QSL of the week will be a QSL card from another clandestine station. Several QSL cards are available for this program. Send your AWR and KSDA reception reports for Wavescan to the AWR address in Indianapolis, and also to the station your radio is tuned to, WWCR, KVOH, or WRMI, or to the AWR relay stations that carry Wavescan. Remember, too, you can send a reception report to the DX reporters when their segment is on the air from Japan, Bangladesh, the Philippines, Australia, and India. They also will verify with their own colorful QSL card. Return postage and an address label are always appreciated. Our Wavescan address is Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 229 USA. Our email is wavescan@awr.org. That's wavescan@awr.org. I'm Jeff White at WRMI in Miami. Until next week, you're listening again.